And with that, I'd like to call upon my expert witnesses, and I have 4 of them. I would like to start with Dr. John Lott. If you would please introduce yourself and your expertise and talk a little bit about our bill, I'd be greatly appreciative. Thank you.
Thanks very much for having me here.
And you have to unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you all being here, and I appreciate the chairman and Representative Lord. There are 40 states that have laws that prohibit seizure of guns during emergencies. 6 states have laws that allow those seizures, and 4 states and the District of Columbia have no such laws on the book. These laws passed largely in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. In August 2005, New Orleans police confiscated about 1,200 guns. A week after the hurricane's landfall, New Orleans police instituted a rule that no civilians in New Orleans would be allowed to carry handguns or shotguns or any other type of firearm. Private security guards were exempted from this rule. Police are extremely important in stopping crime. My own academic research indicates that I believe that they are the single most important factor for reducing crime. The problem with confiscation is that police and National Guards during an emergency like a hurricane are already stretched very thin. Cell phones and phone service was spotty at best. Police who are facing threats were largely left on their own. Having police confiscate firearms during that period of time only increased the burden that police already face in doing their job during an emergency. And the thing is, if my academic research convinces me of anything, it's that the most vulnerable people, those who are most likely victims of violent crime, and those who are relatively weaker physically, particularly women and the elderly, are the ones who benefit the most from being able to own guns for protection. We've seen gun sales across the United States increase dramatically over the course of the last year. And the simple reason for why that occurred, whether it be during the coronavirus initially or when the riots were occurring, and that is police are extremely important, as I say, but either they weren't allowed to do their job or they simply weren't capable of responding to all the things that were occurring. You had prosecutors who weren't arresting people or weren't prosecuting people, and you had many convicts being let out of jails and prisons across the country. As crime rates increased and police weren't able to respond, many people believed that it was necessary for them to respond in some way to protect themselves when the police weren't able to be there. In addition to the laws that got passed after Hurricane Katrina across the country, some states like Florida and Texas actually liberalized other laws, making it so that when states of emergency were declared, the laws regarding carrying guns concealed were temporarily waived. Congress also passed something called the Disaster Recovery Personal Protection Act. And what that did was it prohibited both the federal government and any localities, including state and local governments that receive federal funds, from confiscating firearms during periods of emergencies. In fact, there is a cause of action, private right of action that's in the 2006 federal law that allow for remedies, allow for compensation for people, and allow for attorney's fees for individuals who have their what are otherwise legal firearms confiscated during emergencies. So that raises questions about what type of legal liability the state of New Mexico might face, because New Mexico is one of only 6 states in the country that have the type of ability to confiscate firearms during periods of emergency. Anyway, I'm happy to go and answer any questions that you might have, but New Mexico stands out as being an unusual state compared to the entire rest of the country, and in terms of federal law, in terms of how it treats people's ability to go and defend themselves during times of emergency.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lott. And I'd like to call now upon